This is Sam Prue from Who Would Win Masters. We've opened new official channels and we want you there. Follow Who Would Win Masters on Instagram and subscribe to youtube.com/@WhoWouldWinMasters. And on YouTube, click the Visit Community button to leave your 1v1 battle challenges. Leave a comment and you might just hear it read on the show. Be a part of the arena, be a part of the debate. Now let's dive in. A barren plateau stretches under a dim sky. Wind moves slowly, dust settles. One figure stands still, shoulders squared, head lowered, a long exhale. Controlled, heavy. Scars map a body that's seen too many endings. Chains rest at his side, quiet. For now. Across from him, another figure answers. A calm stance. Feet planted, grip firm. A blade held steady. Not raised in anger, but in certainty. Power hums beneath the surface, not forced but chosen. No rush forward, no wasted motion. One fights like the past never let go. The other stands like the future is already decided. Rage meets resolve, burden meets destiny. This week, the ghost of Sparta, Kratos! First, the most powerful man in the universe, He-Man! What's crackin', folks? Tonight, we flex our fate in a world-bending tournament of power, swords, and axes, tattoos, and loincloths. Welcome back to another matchup from Who Would Win Masters. We previously asked you what battles you'd like to see revisited on the new version of the show, and this is the first of those battles. I am Sam Proof on all the socials, and in this episode, representing Sony Interactive Entertainment, the demigod who will never apologize for cheesy puns about gods, the anti-hero who breaks so many gear crates they named him Kratos. Representing Filmation, the hero who can make a pink shirt and blonde bob put Nicki Minaj to shame, the guy who was so masculine they named him twice He-Man. All right, folks, I have lost my voice. Welcome to the show, actor-comedian. You know him from Reclaim Detroit and the movie Future Date, Matt Harris. Matt, welcome. It's good to work with you yet again in a new media format.
So glad to be here in what I believe is my Who Would Win Masters debut.
Oh, is that right? I wasn't sure. There's so much in the past that I have not reviewed all of that. All right.
Love it.
You are going to be representing Kratos? Is that correct?
Absolutely. I am a huge God of War fan.
Yeah.
And listen, whenever I know that I'm going to go up against the almighty Ray, I know I got to bring the thunder. So I'm still a little bit miffed because a while back, we had ourselves a little debate over some characters. And I think some points got overlooked. So I'm looking for redemption. I'm looking to make sure that doesn't happen again.
All right. Well, on that note, let's get into this week's Tale of the Tape. Tonight's Tale of the Tape is brought to you by bread. It's not exciting. It's not something you should ever have a strong opinion on, but it's still nice to just have a sandwich, you know? Bread. It's just bread. I'll toast to that. Okay, tonight's matchup is one of what will be several revisited matchups from the previous iteration of the Who Would Win show. It's a battle of power versus power as Kratos clashes with He-Man. Kratos, aka the Ghost of Sparta, is the main protagonist of the God of War video game series. Kratos was tricked by the god Ares to kill his family, which set off a revenge quest to end all revenge quests as Kratos travels the world to kill all of the gods he can find. Kratos was created by David Jaffe and first appeared in the game God of War in 2005. And on the other side, we have He-Man. He-Man is known as the strongest man in the universe in the Masters of the Universe series and lives on the planet Eternia. It is there that he battles the evil forces of Skeletor with the power sword to try and keep what peace he can in the world. He-Man was created by Roger Sweet and Mark Taylor, and first appeared in the mini-comic He-Man and the Power Sword in 1981. With all of that said, it is time to introduce your opponent for this battle. It's been said that the character of He-Man was originally inspired by his baby pictures. It's Ray Stakenas. Ray, any truth or not to that rumor, or that you might write your own intros by any chance?
I can't speak to whether or not I write my own intros, but I will say that they're always brilliant. I am very excited to do this matchup. This is a matchup that we did previously on the old iteration of the Who Would Win show, He-Man versus Kratos. And I liked that battle a lot. I liked that matchup a lot. I didn't think that that episode delivered. I'll be honest with you. I felt that He-Man could have been portrayed a lot better, but he wasn't. And now I'm back to sort of do that justice here on Who Would Win Masters. I want to set the record right. Win or lose, I want this battle to absolutely be the battle it can be.
All right. I mean, I think this is a perfect time for it. Both of these characters have, new media things coming out soon, movies and shows and whatnot, or they're both just movies, whatever. So yeah, this is a timely battle that will take us back. If everybody's ready, it is now time for the rules in under 1 minute.
Here are your rules for Who Would Win Masters in 1 minute. Number 1, there will be 3 timed rounds with counterpoints allowed. Number 2, characters will have no prior knowledge of their opponent and no outside interference will be allowed. Number 3, keep the characters in character. Outliers and crossovers will be given less weight. Number 4, battles can be won by death, knockout, battlefield removal, or incapacitation. And number 5, after the battle, I will give my unofficial opinion as to who wins and why, one voice. It will be up to all of you on our social media and our Patreon to make your voices heard as to who won.
All right, let's get right into it. Matt Harris as our guest, 3 minutes on the clock for you, starting now.
All right, I like to come out swinging because I want to keep it concise. Now, the Kratos that I'm talking to is pretty much solid in who he is and all that, and I'm taking it all the way up to the Ragnarok video game. So I'm going to start by talking about weapons and what he brings to the table. And it can pretty much be said that these are the weapons that he is known to carry around with him, especially if you are playing the game. So I'm going to start with the OGs themselves, the Blades of Chaos. All right, now these things, they were forged by Ares themselves. They possess runic telekinetic powers. They are indestructible, and they also come with a healing ability and rage amplification. I'll talk a little bit more about what that means and why that's important in a later point. These are his OG weapons. They are blades that are affixed to a chain, which that he can also hold in his hands just as a regular pair of blades, but he can also use them at range and take out enemies. He's taken out a slew of enemies, everything from frost zombies to hordes of the undead to I'm going to give you the biggest things that he's wounded. He's wounded Ares with these. He's wounded Medusa with these. He's wounded Thor and Baldur with these. These are legit. He also carries around the Leviathan axe, whereas the Blades of Chaos had fire. Leviathan axe has frost. They have runic frost powers. He is very, very good with it in his hands. He can also throw it and recall it, just like Thor can with Mjolnir. So that, and it also comes with a god-like ability. This axe has been the end of Odin. This axe went toe-to-toe with Mjolnir and Thor, and it actually ended up killing one of Thor's sons, Mogni, I think I'm pronouncing that right. He got the business end of it in a way that he didn't like. Also, the Dropnir spear that he has, it's a shape-shifting. It can replicate. It can detonate the copies that it replicates. It has a stunning blast. It also gives him a health burst and has a concussive wave and can generate cyclones and tornadoes. He also is known to carry around a lot of shields, but generally, he can have just about any shield. I'm going to focus on the Guardian Shield, the one that his wife gave him, which is completely durable, can defend and parry an attack from just about anywhere.
30 seconds remaining.
He is a master of all these weapons that are listed. And they also come with runes that give them special powers, regardless of what the power. Kratos is bringing the thunder. That's my point number one.
All right, Ray, it's time for your point number 1. 3 minutes on the clocks, starting now.
You know, I wasn't going to use this point until point number 2, but since you started with the gear, I'm going to call an audible here and throw it deep, and I'm going to go with the power sword. The power sword of He-Man. Now, you have to remember, He-Man is the strongest man in the universe. You're going to hear me say that once or twice today. And also remember that he is the power. The sword is just the conduit. For the longest time as young kids, we thought he was getting the power from the sword, through the sword, and that was turning him from Prince Adam into He-Man. But not really. It's not a limiter per se, but it helps contain that level of energy and power to allow him to be his best self with it. Seemingly, he can summon his sword whenever he wants to from anywhere. You don't see Prince Adam carrying it around, but once he's ready, and he's got that sword in his hand. It also has self-defense magic, which prevents other people from using it. Boy, if God of War games had that same ability with those gods, Kratos would stop stealing all of their weapons and body parts to use against all of the other gods like he does. Well, it won't work in the case of He-Man. The sword can draw power in any universe. He doesn't just have to be on Eternia. I know this is a neutral location. I wanted to mention that as well. We once saw him throw a power sword, the power sword, into a time bomb and cause it to stop working. He used it like a baseball bat, and there was like a meteor that was about to hit the planet, and he slapped it like Babe Ruth calling his shot. He cut his way out of magical slime that was covering him. I don't know exactly how you cut something that's kind of liquidy, but he did it. That's the magic of the power sword, right? He vibrated the power sword to close a giant underwater fissure. He could reflect laser attacks with it. He also cut magical chains that Superman himself could not break. I remember Kratos has his weapons on chains, and they are unbreakable. Perhaps that He-Man and the Power Sword is the one person who could actually separate Kratos from his weapons, thus disarming him. But not only that, he has some sort of weather control where he can create storms and lightning. And I keep reading online, theory hammering, that Kratos' big weakness is, in fact, lightning. Anybody who snuck up on Kratos and hit him with some sort of major lightning attack was able to put him down for a certain period of time. It seems to be the go-to in the God of War universe as what it takes to defeat Kratos. But it also could shoot enemy beams. He used it once to immobilize Hordak, who's extremely powerful. He tagged a flying Mosquitor with it. And I will point also, look, I love He-Man. It's a great, great series out there. Like, he's got also an axe that he could use. I've seen him with the shield as well. Heck, he's got a chest that could do battle damage. But it's the power sword that gets it done. And the power sword also can open portals to other dimensions if it absolutely comes to that.
All right, Matt, as our guest, you will have a 1-minute rebuttal. Your counterpoint, 60 seconds, starts now.
I love He-Man and I love the power sword. I think it is a great weapon, and it's a very good point that, yes, He-Man is the power, the sword is the conduit. Although I am going to say something that that sword has been broken in some of the canons before. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of pushback also on the idea that he can seemingly conjure it from everywhere, because we have seen Prince Adam not be able to get to that sword in some of the cartoons, and that has caused some issue for the change to happen. Not to say that it completely throws it out, but it's worth mentioning. Also, yes, Kratos has beaten some of his enemies so bad that he's also taken their enemies and beaten them with it. I think that's a point for him. I don't think he would even want to try that, though, because he's got such an arsenal of his own. All of the weapons that he has are God-killing weapons, and they have been tested. Yes, He-Man has smacked meteors, and I mean, if you're going to bring up him killing the Mosquitor, oh my gosh, I mean that.
I do want to take a point here and just say, I didn't mention off the top, I am focusing on the DC Comics He-Man. There's a lot more meat in there than the cartoon show. It's not that the cartoon show won't get maybe a reference here and there. Part of my point number 3 brings up some silliness from the cartoon, but I don't think that that's necessarily the best representation of that character to focus on the cartoon, where he's either completely incapable of anything or literally pushing the moon out of the sky. I think that it's just a little too, it's not quite as grounded, I would say, as as the DC comic series.
Fair enough.
As grounded as
Before
He-Man
you start
gets.
using that as more points, we're going to move on. This was a great starting point. No, great starting point. We heard a lot about the weapons. I really like the question of, can the power sword break the chains, the unbreakable chains of the Blades of Chaos? We might have to make a video on that subject in the future ourselves on the Discord. But right now, it's time for a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's time to jump into point number 2. Matt Harris, 3 minutes on the clock, starting now.
Okay, point number 2, I want to talk about the abilities. Some general abilities that Kratos is walking around with. Now, Kratos is in fact a demigod. He is, he finds out an illegitimate son of Zeus. So what does that give him? He has superhuman godlike strength. He has godlike durability. He has regenerative abilities. He is able to regenerate his health. All of these are very, very important when it comes in a fight. Now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I understand He-Man's strength and everything like that. Kratos also has a godlike strength. Initially, I kind of think those two things wash each other out. These are both very, very strong characters. And I'll even concede the point that He-Man will be a little stronger, but here's why I don't think it matters. Kratos also has other skills that are coming about with him. He has something that's called the Spartan Rage. It is a power that is deep within him that he can summon in the heat of a battle, especially if something's get the best of him. It breaks down into 3 places. He has Spartan Fury, which if he decides to activate it in that way, makes all of his attacks deliver devastating damage. It has taken down colossuses of things. He also has something called Valor, which he can channel that rage into regenerating his health, keeping him in the fight a lot longer. Or he has a part of it called Wrath, which can take all the damage and put it into a weapon attack and make that attack a lethal killing blow. Also, important to note is his combat skill. Listen, He-Man is a great character. He's, also the Prince of Eternia and all that kind of stuff. But when it really comes down to it, he has all these sort of magical abilities that allow him to do things. Kratos is a Spartan general who, as a Spartan general, not only as a Spartan, in order to just stay alive in that culture, you have to show battle acumen, but as a general, he has become a tactical, I would almost call him a tactical genius, but definitely tactically adept. And one of his main things is he fights. He has completely developed himself to fight opponents that are bigger, stronger, faster, and smarter than him. Now, Ray brought up earlier that that lightning is a problem for it. Yes, it was a problem, especially when he fought his father, Zeus, who is known for his lightning bolts. And what did Kratos do? He beat Zeus not only without his weapons, but with his bare hands. I think He-Man has a real problem stepping to Zeus. That's my point number 2.
All right, we'll see if He-Man has a problem stepping to his point number 2. Ray, 3 minutes on the clock, starting now.
Well, I would argue that Kratos' rage is actually his weakness. All right? I think that he has basically 2 different Kratoses. There's the early Kratos, and then there's the father Kratos. And the early Kratos has a real problem with the rage and him going too far and making a lot of battle mistakes. You talk about what a great battlefield general he is. His problem is he loses his poop, and then he starts pushing too hard, and his enemies are gods who can use it against him. He-Man is marvelous at taking a character like Skeletor, and then in this exact same thing, Skeletor gets overconfident, Skeletor gets angry, and He-Man's able to Aikido that and absolutely knock Skeletor out of the way. And then later, Kratos is known to hold back. He's afraid of his previous reputation and doesn't always go for it, right? So depending on where you're going to catch him in his pantheon of timelines, he's still going to have a problem. Anyway, let's talk about He-Man's powers. He has speed. Obviously, he runs at super speed. Let's just keep it real. He's faster than the eye can see. His durability, he has a healing factor. Kratos also heals as he fights as well. I don't think it's as good because I've seen He-Man get smashed and burned and cut, and he just regenerates on the very next page of the comic, and he looks normal again. You tried to argue that Kratos is as strong as He-Man? No! I will point out that He-Man is the strongest man in the universe. That includes Sparta. He-Man will lift giant boulders and statues and he'll throw them. He pulled the power sword out of a stone when Battle Cat was on top of him. I can't even get off the couch if my cat's on top of me, but here's He-Man doing a King Arthur with a giant monster on him. He knocked out a kaiju-sized two-headed serpent. Not just knocked him out. He threw it into the clouds afterwards. This man is strong. He's fought characters and absolutely stomped them like Jackalman, Slythe, Beastman, Trapjaw, Triclops, Vultureman, and Munkian. Not, the gods I think are a bit more impressive than those characters, but He-Man forces those characters to scale up even to hang with him in combat. So those are much more powerful characters than maybe you might first think. Look, he fought Bane when Bane was all amped up on his juice, and he easily blocked his punch. He once punched his way through a wall of magical fire. Hey, Supergirl. There was a gigantic spaceship that Supergirl was struggling. Remember Homelander with the airplane? Supergirl was struggling to land this giant spaceship. It was about to land on everybody. And at the last second, who was there? He-Man on the planet's surface, held it, got everybody out and tossed it aside. This is absolutely incredible. Look, he takes hits or dodges every character in the series, and they all scale up to his power. He's created a planet-sized earthquake, or during one, he held up a column in order to prop up a coliseum so it wouldn't collapse. And finally, Battle Cat. Does he get Battle Cat for this battle? I don't know. He comes with it in the action figure if we use that theory, but also I don't want Atreus to be in this battle. So I'm going to say no to the Battle Cat theory.
All right, we'll leave that open. Matt, 1 minute on the clock for your rebuttal, starting now.
Ooh, Ray, you better be glad you left Battle Cat out of this, because I would have jumped right on there with Atreus and all of the wrath that his arrows brings. But let me just push back on some of the points that you had out there. Because first of all, I did not say that I said their strength was a wash. I didn't say that Kratos was stronger. I think He-Man actually is stronger, but that's no problem. I'm going to talk about him more in my third point, because he has faced stronger opponents before. Strength isn't the issue. Kratos, I don't know where you're getting this, and I'll use your word, nonsense, that Kratos is Mr. Holdback, that Kratos is Mr. Choke Artist, because if you look at the Greek pantheon of gods, there's no holding back. They're all dead. And actually, he broke into another realm of Norse gods. Not a lot of them leaving around. This is not a guy who holds back when it comes to it. And whatever arrogance you think he has, I think he's barreling forward and he's getting the job done. Okay, He-Man is not the strongest man in the universe, as it was said at the top. He is the strongest man in his universe. Okay, we're dealing with the person who has, and like I said, I'll get to this more in my thing. Oh, so you're saying that he beat up Bane? Yes, Batman has done that, who also doesn't have any powers. All right, and yes, he's stronger than Supergirl.
You're saying he's stronger than Supergirl? That's pretty good. Supergirl's pretty strong.
Very good. It's very, very good.
All right, really good second points. A lot of a lot of information about the strengths and the abilities, and not a lot of cat. Sorry, but we'll find out more after this break. All right, we're back. Whether or not we have cats on top of us or not, it is time for point number 3, our third and final point. Mr. Matt Harris, you have 3 minutes on the clock, starting now.
All right, so listen, we know about the weapons, we know about the abilities. Look, let's just get down to brass tacks and talk about, I want to talk about some of the feats, some of the intangibles, and some of the things, the battles that Kratos has won. Now, I mentioned this before. I want to get into it before. Kratos he's a guy who gets the job all the way done. All right. He started out as being this sort of barbaric, Spartan warlord who was tricked into killing his family. And by the end of the series, he's gotten his revenge on not just the god of war, the entire Greek pantheon of gods. And let's look at that. You talk about He-Man's speed. He killed Hermes, who had superhuman speed. You talk about strength. He went through Hercules, who was known to be one of the strongest people in that thing, and that's not even it. Hercules is just another demigod. He went toe-to-toe with Kronos, the Titan. Yes, his grandpappy, who Kratos was no bigger than an ant. He went to go get stomped. He was able to power lift that thing away. His strength cannot be questioned, nor can his durability. He fought Zeus. Again, I have to say, the god of gods, who was able to split Titans in half with his thunderbolts. Kratos was able to beat him barehanded. He fought Thor, who was then the most powerful in his universe, to a stalemate, only because they realized they didn't want to kill each other, because it was all a trick of Odin. Who he killed? He killed Baldur, who can feel no pain. He killed Heimdall. Heimdall, who was prescient, who could see the moves that he was going to do before he could even do them. He found a way to do that. Now, something I know about He-Man, there is a lineage of He-Man being stripped of power before. It was said on He-Man's wiki that if he receives too much damage or if he burns himself out too much, he can revert back to Prince Adam for a small amount of time. I think going against Kratos, the God Slayer himself, he's going to find himself having to exert a lot of power. He's going to see this isn't like the regular rogues gallery of people that he's been through. He's going to see this is a guy who does not stop until you are dead. He finds a way. He doesn't just whack you with the sword and try to get you. He climbs up. He finds a way. He's climbed inside of beasts and bursts out of them.
30 seconds remaining.
He's cut ankles. He's done everything that he knows to do. He's taken out the Valkyrie Queen. He's faced and been tested many, many times. He-Man is a great hero. Kratos is the anti-hero who's going to give him the problem that he doesn't want.
All right, Ray, 3 minutes on the clock for your third and final point, starting now.
Absolutely. And I love this matchup, and I think you've done an excellent job getting it going, Mr. Harris. Much respect to you and your job, but I'm going to have to destroy you here. Look, I seem to remember when a stranger, some skinny guy, comes to Kratos' front door in 2018's reboot of God of War, and then uppercuts him above and through and over his own house. Kratos was a little surprised by that, didn't see it coming. That guy's name was Baldur. He does eventually get defeated, but in that first encounter, Kratos takes a big ol' poppin', as I will just say. Let's talk for a moment about cartoon feats of He-Man. I'm not going to focus on this too hard, but my goodness, in the cartoon, he picked up and threw Castle Grayskull all the way back to Eternia. What? That's crazy. He was somewhere else entirely. He once pushed a mountain in order for it to be astrologically aligned. Outrageous. And of course, the big one where he took a spaceship up and then shoved a moon out of orbit to change the tides and then pushed it back again afterwards. We've done our contractual obligation and mentioned those feats because people get mad if you don't. But we're going to talk about him because he's known in the DC universe, pretty good universe for powerful beings, as the greatest warrior of all. He fought a pre-crisis version of Superman for several minutes before eventually falling. That's his weakness point. But he did send Injustice Superman flying through the air with a single punch. He's also very, very good with a sword. I can appreciate it. I love that you spent a whole point talking about the weapons of Kratos. But I would argue that He-Man with his power sword is even better than Kratos using some of these rent-a-gadgets that he gets through his own video game series, right? He can't quite become a master of one because he's constantly changing the weapons that he's using as the games go along. But he's a great swordsman, He-Man is. He's used his power sword. That's his go-to. He's won over Ninjor and Blade with a sword. These are two high-level master swordsmen in their world. He's also got straightforward wins against, Beastman, Merman, Hordak, and of course, Skeletor, who's one of the most powerful sorcerers of all time. One of my favorite ones, he fought 1 billion with a B. He fought 1 billion Trollins with Superman and took them out. And in the DC universe, let's get wild. He's got wins over Lobo, Deathstroke, Killer Frost, Solomon Grundy, and Gorilla Grodd. That is a good roster to have defeated. And his battle with Superman is really like what you got to bring up here because Superman is gosh darn Superman. And he tanked to the face Superman's eye beams. It was a clone of Superman, but my goodness, still a Superman. And then he ran him through with the power sword. He also one-shot the Flash. He one-shot the Flash, who's going to move way faster than anything Kratos can bring. He-Man is just too dangerous, too skilled, and too powerful. I have full respect for Kratos. Everyone should know that. But in this battle, He-Man takes it down.
All right, Matt, it is time for your third and final counterpoint. 1 minute on the clock, starting now.
Okay, listen. He-Man, great fighter. I am never going to take that away from him, but this is really the final point that I need to make, and there really doesn't need to be much to be said about this. Yes, he's fought his way through some of the DC pantheon, but a lot of them are echoes of the gods that Kratos has fought. And not only gods, we're talking creatures. I mentioned briefly the Valkyrie Queen. This is a being that can fly, that can use energy beams, and that can use weapons. Kratos took out a whole league of Valkyries before he got to her and was able to take her out. You talk about the one shot in the Flash. Yeah, he used the Blades of Chaos and actually cut off Hermes' feet. And with or without weapons. Another thing that he can do is he's good inside and out. He can hit He-Man on the range. He can do a lot of damage up in close. He's in, he's out. And listen, I know the cartoon feats, I'm going to go ahead and give those less weights because, yes, he can throw a moon and all of that stuff, and it's great. And yeah, Kratos also has traveled through time and done a bunch of stuff like this, but this is where it really comes down to it. Where it really comes down to it is like, let's look at the body count. He-Man has had to do some things. He has had to damage some people. Kratos is the kind of person who will not hesitate, who will use anything that is within his power, and every single godlike being that has tested him, every animal, every flora and fauna, even the fates themselves, he's won.
All right, throughout the show, Ray has not had any counterpoints, so he does get the final thought at the end of the battle, which is now. So, Ray, take it away.
I love this little Jerry Springer segment at the end of the show. I really should end it with take care of yourself and each other. I'm not going to lie. So here's the story. I got such respect for Kratos. The thing about Kratos, though, is that he fights gods. And you have to do a certain translation of what does that mean one-to-one to the most powerful DC Comics characters like Superman, Supergirl, Lobo, and that whole crowd. And I think they hang pretty well with those characters. But you're not going to bang on Kratos for, his strength, his power, his endurance, and all of the above. He's obviously very strong like that. But he is fighting gods, right? And gods are sort of his whole thing that he's there to kill. After he got tricked by Ares to kill his family, he has a certain rage towards gods that he's not necessarily going to have towards He-Man, a fellow mortal who he will probably have some patience with, I would argue. He does like to rip people apart, though. But He-Man is, and I don't know if I mentioned this, the strongest man in the universe, with the ability to create portals, with the ability to throw people a county away at a moment's notice. And given that he's been able to throw a kaiju like up to the clouds, what stops He-Man from just grabbing Kratos by the ankle and then whipping him to another zip code? That's a 2-minute battlefield removal. What's stopping him from creating a portal on the battlefield and knocking Kratos into it or shoving him into it with his great grip and strength? At the end of the day, what's stopping He-Man from cutting the chains of Olympus or whatever they're called from Kratos' body to disarm him and then putting him in a wrist lock of some kind and incapacitating him for 2 minutes? He's stronger. He's a better fighter. He's definitely got the healing factor to hang with Kratos. And I don't think at the end of the day, given that Kratos has lost so many times, he's been trapped by webs from the Sorceress Sisters and transported across to another group. I just don't think Kratos, in a first encounter especially, Kratos will go to the underworld and come back. But I think Kratos absolutely falls.
Oh, man, this is going to be intense. This has been some amazing points made from both sides. Yeah, I've got my work ahead of me to figure out who I think did this. We'll see what everyone else says, but I will be right back with my decision after this.
let's find out who would win. It's time to hear Sam's decision.
All right, gentlemen, this was an amazing battle. Going into this, I honestly had no idea what to expect and like no preconceived notions of who might win. You both made amazing points, and just this was fascinating. Look, we started out with an opening to what could easily become an epic buddy movie about two gym bros comparing scars, weapons, and feats. But before they head out on a double date for tacos, what we have is what Prometheus is calling a live or die scenario. Kratos has the Blades of Chaos, the Guardian Shield, and the Leviathan Axe. He-Man, the Power Sword, energy blasts and lightning energy, and a strict keto routine. They both have strong head-to-head and ranged abilities, but whether He-Man is truly stronger in the multiverse or just in the Masters of the Universe may be a point of contention. Kratos is a demigod, and He-Man may not hold that title, but certainly is the Hercules of Eternia. They both have amazing feats, from stopping crashing spaceships to killing Zeus or throwing a kaiju into the clouds, and I'm still sad that we had to tell the cats and wolves to peace me out. Ray brought up He-Man's video game gadgets and that Kratos' rage problems are a weakness of an earlier version of the character, and I think both of these points take a lower weight, as we are talking about, especially in the case of Kratos, that the character is in their peak performance. Now, whether or not He-Man can break the unbreakable chains, I still don't know, and I welcome our viewers to weigh in on that. However, the thing that really cinched this for me was that there was not just one clear path to victory, but multiple paths to victory very fast and with a 2-minute battlefield removal. So by the power of Grayskull, I am giving this to He-Man.
Wow, indeed. I'll be honest, when you started talking, I had no idea which way we were going to go. I think the people had some very, very spirited opinions on this, both directions. And I'm ecstatic to have gotten the victory today with He-Man. Man, this was a real tough one. To me, this is like a 55-45 type of scenario.
It definitely was.
Deal. And I do think He-Man wins. I don't come on the show to lie to people.
Of course you do.
I do believe that He-Man would win this battle, unless I was on the other side. But I definitely want to hear what Matt Harris has to say.
Please, yes.
For a first time out, this was a very impressive debut for you on this show.
This was very good. And as Kratos would say, don't be sorry, just be better. All right. But Matt,
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what I think. All right. Because we're going to start a new hashtag. Hashtag Matt was right. Because you take all of your, he could battlefield remove him, and you blow that up in a balloon and you let that go, because that's where I take that final contention point myself. Listen, I actually, when this started off, and I still go back and forth of like, wow, who really would take someone in this battle? Because I honestly think it's a thing that comes down to what day is it. I think Monday, Kratos wins. I think Thursday, He-Man wins. I think it's just one of those things, who's catches who on what day. So as much as I do not like to yield any type of defeat, when the other man's arm is raised at the end of it, I may not agree with the judge's decision, but I went the distance.
Yeah.
And this other, and I'm telling you, Ray feels it right now. He was nervous a couple of times. The people at home, don't be taken on by all of that bravado or something like that. He was sweating today because Kratos brought the thunder.
Well, and keep in mind that my decision is not the final decision. This does go to a vote to the people.
The people know the truth.
Come back with their voices heard.
The people know the truth.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, I think, Ray pointed out that as a first encounter, I think this does go the way I have laid out, but on a second and especially third encounter, I think Kratos could easily take this because he has now learned and, avoids the portal or whatever it is. So it's definitely day to day would change for sure. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us.
Kratos heads, make your voices known.
All right. Thank you for joining us. Do you want to tell people where they can find you?
You can find me at Trader Joe's mostly, or Randy's Donuts in the Los Angeles area. But if you're looking for me on the socials, it's Matt Harris Graham on the Instagram. That is the place where I hang mostly virtually.
Excellent. All right. Well, hopefully we'll have you back on soon. Ray, any final thoughts on this battle?
Don't let Matthew Harris fool you. I wasn't sweating a single moment of this battle. I knew deep down that I had the best character, the best strategy, and the best talking points. And I knew that at the end of the day, Sam would make the right decision. And I am very happy that he made the decision with me, because that was in fact the right decision. I don't want Matthew Harris to get too big ahead at the end of this. Maybe the people will bail you out this time. I'm not convinced that they will, but I do think it will be a heck of a back and forth on our Patreon, patreon.com/who-would-win-masters. We want to get all you folks out there who are members, both free and paid. This is a good one. This is a chance that you can vote, make your voice heard, make the decision as to ultimately who did win this battle. And these comments, I think, are going to be hot fire when we come time to do the wrap-up next week.
All right. And yeah, we will be back with the wrap-up, revealing your votes, reading your comments straight from the Discord and socials, and we'll see which pair of flexing muscles is your team. Keep the fight going with Who Would Win Masters on Discord. That's where we'll see your takes actually shape up, and you can put your own battles out there. Patreon's the place for our official poll. And for anyone who wants to support the show, you can go there as well. And if you've got opinions, find the Discord, find the socials. But our one-stop shop is patreon.com/who-would-win-masters. Start there and find us in other places after that. If you think you've got what it takes to step into the challenger's chair, record a 1-minute video demo and send that to who-would-win-masters@gmail.com. And who knows, we might see you across from Ray in the future. For Who Would Win Masters, this is Sam Proof. Stay strong.